Hello, everybody, again. My pleasure to be here, not working daily in film education, not, let's say, directly with kids in methodologies, but I think my approach to filmmaking is also indirectly a kind of film education. So let's explore what the differences are and maybe what the bridges are and maybe some new ways that we can discover together. From Cinemascope to vertical video, how to engage Generation U in cinema. That's more or less what I want to talk about today. For those who were not here yesterday, you can find me on IMDb. I'm working with a very clear personal concept, Children in the Center. These are the countries in the world, over 40, where I've been working with children, film and media. And these are some of my productions, co-productions, creations, co-creations. Today I want to talk, to focus on Generation U. I don't know if you're familiar with this expression. It was more or less the central target group at the last World Summit on Children's Media in, was August, I think, or June, in England, organized by the BBC. Because if we look at the new generation of the latest generation, then there are a couple of things that we have to take in mind when we want to work with them, when we want to create for them or with them. Which is, this is the first generation that will grow up in an unlimited digital world. They have access and they will be bombed by 24/7 content, ideas, opinions from around the globe. They're world citizens at the moment they're born. They're invisible in how they deal with media because they're in closed social networks. And the technology that we have created for them has physical effects on their body. We're not going to discuss that today, but there's a huge medical problem also. To give you a little bit more background about this new generation, I have the latest research results from the USA, offered by a magazine called Kidscreen. The kids who participate in traditional play, I thought let's start not with digital, but let's start with traditional play, where you can see the difference between light blue, the kids 6 to 8, and the tweens 9 to 12. So fortunately, they still have a play attitude. But what does it mean? We have to go deeper into that. Let's say that is the biggest one. For instance, the smallest one is to play an instrument, and you can see that that is decreasing. So playing musical instruments, for instance, is really something under pressure in this new generation. And you find your own sector that you have your interest. Then, kids' usage of social media platforms. This is USA based, so some of them maybe you don't recognize because they are hardly used in this area or in Europe. But the first one, Musical, where you can make your own videos, music videos, and share it. It's like a closed community of what used to be YouTube. You see how big that is, especially among tweens, 9 to 12. Almost 70% of them is currently using it. Then you have Snapchat, which is also very big, especially when you see that it's used by young kids. You know that officially children can have a social media account from the age of 13, which means that most of the research that is done 13 years and older. Because the big world of researchers are the Anglo-Saxons, and everything that's forbidden, you kind of hide. But we should do more research on 2 and 3 years old when they enter the social media world, when they start finding their videos on YouTube. But it's a very sensitive subject. So you see Facebook still has a position. Some people would think, oh, Facebook doesn't exist for kids or youth. It does also exist. It doesn't mean that they are very active on it, or that the moment you as a parent are a friend of your child, that they still post what they post in Snapchat. Instagram, also big. Pinterest, a platform. I will explain the ones for those who don't know. Snapchat is a one that you can send short videos and you can make crazy faces on it, etc. Very important to know that kids think that are experiencing that it's great to have things that are crazy. Think of that. What does it mean for cinema? That we're going to talk about. Facebook, I think everybody knows. Instagram, photos in a square and making black and white filters. That's interesting. Black and white is back. I haven't seen many black and white children's movies yet, so there's a new market maybe. Pinterest is a platform where you can make tables of pictures that you like, and Kik is kind of a WhatsApp that we don't use a lot in Europe. I think here it's more Viber, in the Netherlands it's more WhatsApp, in Latin America it's WhatsApp with voice messages of a minimum of 3 or 4 minutes. So, and then five at a time. So you're walking in the street and you have to listen 15 minutes to voice messages of someone. It's incredible. And then Twitter is really small for this group. But Twitter, for instance, if you work in media, you cannot avoid Twitter. It's the place where you find everything that has to deal with journalism and media. Great Twitter feeds of cinema, for instance. Really, there you find much better things than on Facebook. But it shows how many of these they are using and how strong, for instance, music is. And to be a music star yourself. I did research in elementary schools in the Netherlands some years ago on professions that kids want to become, because my generation want to become policemen, firemen, etc. They want to become famous. They think it's a profession. This is important for today. Most important, kids who make videos on a device. That is really growing fast, and this is 2017. Imagine that it might be 70% now. I don't have the latest numbers there, but it was already 50% in 2017. Video is #1, which means the way they deal with video, what they're capable of, what we can learn from them, the way they make videos, and the language that they develop. I want to show you an example of a 9-year-old boy, a video that he made. Let me see if the sound, yes. This is the kind of videos they make, they send to each other. This is not in Snapchat, so in Snapchat there would be crazy faces and all kinds of movement. But there are thousands of apps that you can make special effects with. This one, for instance, with these intercuts. But it's a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Next one, also made by the same. And they love apps like Funny Food Movie Maker, where you can put your mouth into characters, like strawberries and like oranges, or monkeys, or lions. That has an impact on what they expect also from us. Or at least it enlarges the scope. So the question is, cinema you. How does it look like, or what do we have to take in account? I would say don't do what they can do, because they can do it better. make what they can't. Integrate their world. Don't say, well, it's not this, vertical video is awful, we want wide shots. Integrate their world and also their language of storytelling, for instance. Create strong content, strong visuals, and strong audio. Because they don't have those means on a cell phone, for instance. Fulfill their dreams, their fantasies. In stories. Show that it's possible, whatever you dream. Show that it's possible, whatever your fantasy you have. I don't say escape into fantasy. Everybody who was here yesterday knows that I'm from realism, but the fantasy element is very important. If you make interviews, think of active interviews and interaction. Because they know, they look at, millions of them look at YouTubers that are walking like this. That's an active interview. That's an active way of talking on camera. We are used to put someone in a seat, especially with kids. Don't put them in a seat. Let them stand, let their body speak. And we let them speak and we have a frame. That's the adult way of making interviews. Active interviews. Let them act, do something, and meanwhile talk. You get much more out of them. And that's also that's a language that they appreciate more. So even in the news that I do in these 20 countries around the world, we try to make active interviews, which is a difference, which is much more connecting. That's why they say the news is boring. I mean, imagine then you also have a journalist with a suit and a tie talking to you with a microphone like this. How much boring television can you make? Television should be, or used to be, a visual medium. Think of urgency and relevance. There might be more relevance than you think, but if it's not relevant for them, if it's not urgent, and especially that combination, you will not find them. You will not get them to cinema. You will not get their interest. So maybe there's much more urgency than you think. Something to explore. So don't think now the urgency you know. Do your research and then think of urgencies. But these two words are crucial to make this generation U move. And their experience of urgency is, for instance, that's a great thing of Snapchat or Instagram video. It disappears within 24 hours. So you have to see now the latest video in Snapchat of your friend, because tomorrow they talk about it and you're not there, you haven't seen it. YouTubers today, they don't just post their videos. Saturday, 5 o'clock, new video. So it's scheduling of media is back. Because at the beginning, everybody was talking about this one or two YouTubers. Now every child, almost every child, has its own YouTube channel. So in order to find them, you have to schedule again. So there's a future for linear scheduling, even on cross-media and open platforms. So having these thoughts in mind, I wrote these thoughts especially for today. I want to share a film with you that we did. Yes, you want a remark or a question? Yeah, please. Yeah. Everybody who wants to interact, please interact. Is there a microphone? Yeah, microphone. Great.
We already had a very short discussion yesterday, and we didn't really
you love to discuss, isn't it?
get into the details. But there's one thing I want to ask you, because I totally understand your line of argumentation. But also when I look, for example, at all the apps they use, that you just presented to us, those are commercial apps, and there's mostly a commercial interest behind them. And the only thing I ask myself is, do you not sometimes feel that education is also about being basically, or going against the aesthetics and the ways these apps are used, that education is something that should also try to find another way of interacting, another way of using images, because to me it seems you are basically saying this is how they use it, so we should apply our educational programs to that. And sometimes I feel maybe educational programs should be about something else, about being totally different from what they use on a daily basis.
Yeah, thanks for that remark, that question. No, I'm not saying to follow what is happening and do the same. I said do something else. But also, I don't think education has to be against something. Education is offering options. And if the market doesn't only offers these options, we have to find the other options that are possible. Yes, so that would be my definition for it. I hope this answers your question. Thanks. More questions you can ask whenever you want. I want to share a movie now where we tried to do what I just said that could be possible. It's a 50-minute short film called Mr. Breaker, Meneer Braker. Actually, Meneer Braker is nicer. You can hardly translate it in English. Mr. Vomiter, yeah, it could be Mr. Vomiter. It's 15 minutes, short film for kids 8 to 12. Great, the lights I've requested, thank you.
Oh, kijk, wat hoog. Wauw. Ja, gewoon we mogen het. Oké dan. Spannend.
Hé broertje, heb je zin in?
Ja.
Succes hè?
Ja, oké, jij ook.
Ramon, kom!
Ik wil eigenlijk niet.
Hoor hem.
Morgen.
Oké, jongens en meisjes. We gaan terug naar het kamp. Hé, Ran.
Waar ben jij nou weer vandaan?
Zit je weer in space of zo?
Wat?
Doe eens even nog wel, serieus. Kijk hier. Ik ga je opeten.
Kan toch?
Nou ja, tuurlijk. Hé, Shira.
Sharif! Sharif! Kom eens. Kijk dan, hij lijkt erop.
Je maakt zo'n een beetje aan, net zoals jij. Oké, jongens en meisjes. Tijd om te gaan slapen. De zaklampen gaan uit. Nu. Jij ook, Romeo, kom.
Ja?
Zet het uit je hoofd, ja?
Jongens, kom!
Ziet er nu veel groter everzwijn.
Oh, wat zielig.
Hé, Raas, jij hebt opgegeten door aliens, hè?
Lekker stoer doen dan. Hé, doe eens normaal, man.
Riepen daar.
Dat is van de klauwen van de links.
Oh, oké. Ik ben best groot.
Dus vlak voordat de links dit zwijntje te pakken krijgt, verdwijnt bij de prooi alle paniek en wanhoop. En komt er een moment van totale overgave en acceptatie. Dat is een cadeautje van moeder natuur eigenlijk.
Dat je denkt, dat we het Frans-spelletje gaan spelen. Maar binnen.
Het was dan ook wat eten.
Nee, bedankt. Ik zit al vol.
Sharif, hij eet niet.
Nou en?
Oké, jongens en meisjes, het is zover. De nachtsurvival. Jullie hebben nog een half uur om jullie nachtlantaarns te pakken. Daarna wil ik jullie hier niet meer zien. De tocht duurt 3 uur. Blijf goed bij elkaar en volg de route. Want het is volle maan. Dus er kan van alles gebeuren.
wil hier blijven.
Hoezo?
Nee, Braker.
Kom met ons mee, zo'n 5 was hartstikke leuk.
Nee.
Kom dan maar. Ga je mee?
Ja, hallo. Elmas, kom. Ga gewoon aan de kant. Kom op, doe normaal.
Ramon!
Hey. Hey. Zullen we terug gaan?
Ja, ga jij maar vast terug, we komen zo achteraan.
Blijven jullie hier dan?
Ja, ga nog maar, of ben je weer bang? Ramon.
Laat hem maar. Laat hem maar.
Sukkel. Je hoeft bestaan niet, Ramon. Je bent een mietje, Ramon. Sukkels.
dus niet, hè?
Ik wist het wel.
Hm?
Ik kan het.
Yes, something completely different, I would say. Well, we tried to put everything together, everything we knew, everything we thought, we felt, we researched, and to make something really strong. In fact, this was also after the huge, immense international success of the Twilight series that kids were not allowed to watch officially. And in cinema in the Netherlands, it's quite strict. You cannot enter a cinema when it's a cinema over 12, for instance, you have to be 12 or older. You cannot enter. They really ask for your permit. I don't know how strong it is in Slovenia, but many countries in the world I've been that they're not so strong, but in the Netherlands, quite strict. So we said, okay, they also deserve to have this kind of stories, and because they were really interested, kids in werewolves and in fear and this kind of things. So we tried to make it really strong for this target group. And all the screenings that I've been was a huge success. In some screenings they had talks afterward, and the kids are so into it, they explode of talking and energy, and because they go through the emotions, and of course he kind of becomes a hero, and he has the proof. Yeah, so it also, of course, we don't leave the track of communicating values, the 5 values that I mentioned earlier, for instance. So there, cinema can use elements of language, of things that are in the daily life of kids. Of course, we also have to thank the Blair Witch Project, but that was not for kids. But anyway, that was done, a decade before, or a decade before the Twilight movies. Yeah, so now it's a cell phone. Anyway, it was very quiet here. I'm not going to tell you all the tricks, but okay. So that is just an example of what we tried, how to connect with Generation U. So how about Film Education U? Like I said, this movie was shown many times on festivals and in theaters, and also in schools, and very lively discussions about it. We created I remember we created a paper to explain also how it's made. How do you make a movie like this, not endangering the kids that is in the movie? So people who worked with the movie, who were usually people from film festivals, could have some tools in the discussion. Actually, I'm not sure what I wanted to show now. Yeah, this is one. Sorry. Film Education U. One of the things that I did working in public TV was, okay, let's integrate the kids in making films. So the best experience I could do was my son, the one that dismounted the dishwasher. When he was 10, I happened to make a live television program about what kids thought about their schools, how they would give a rating to their school. And at the end of the day, after this live broadcast, we wanted to make kind of how children appreciate schools in the Netherlands. What number do they give, ranked from 1 to 10. So I gave my Canon Mini DV camera to my son. He hasn't used it before. He had slight experience with holding my camera and making some shots. That's all. Really was not trained. I just gave him the camera to school in the morning, and at the end of the day he would come back with the camera and I would look what he would have filmed, because I asked him, can you make material for a 1-minute film that I will show in that live broadcast as an example of how kids explore their school and rate their school. And this is the film that after he came back with the material, we edited together, because he didn't have the technique himself to do it. So we did it together, but it was really his directing. Here's the movie, 1 minute.
Dit is de klas. En dat ben ik. U bent hier. Is het nou leuk om les te geven?
Aan jullie?
Ja.
Tot nu toe wel.
Een kaartje? Wat is dat nou?
Dat is als je een vraag hebt, dan moet je hem op rood zetten.
En wat als je nou geen vraag hebt?
Dan moet je hem
indraaien. Oh, groen.
Het stipeltje wat je daar ziet in het toilet, dat is om op te plassen. Sommige kinderen die plassen er meestal op naast. En de wc's zijn heel veel stukken. Het komt daar bovenuit, uit dat ding daar. Spat het zo uit als je trekt. En dat kinderen gesloten. Ja, die zijn wel goed, alleen sommige die zijn een beetje krakkemikkig. Dus die dienen niet echt. En wat geef je voor cijfer, denk je? 8.
Vind je het leuk op de schoolplein?
Ja, dus wel.
Zou je liever op een andere school willen zitten?
Nee, dat niet. Ja,
nee?
Af en toe wel, als iedereen stom niet, hè.
So without any further question, exactly what I said, that was my briefing. He came back with material, and he had, for instance, he had a 25-minute interview with the teacher of the headmaster of the school. I was amazed. I was amazed. Of course, he grows up in a media literate environment, but he was not experienced. It was not Generation U. It was the Generation X, the previous one. But such a clear idea about interviewing, shots, how to tell stories. And of course, in the editing, that's something with all this material. Of course, he needs the reference of an experienced person, but still, this was how he wanted to compile the story. And he wanted to end with that goal that he filmed, because it was exactly in the crossbar and things like that. Also, he integrated his friends at school. One of his friends interviewing the other. It's amazing. So that was also a clear signal that it's not a reference, it's a research, N is 1, but still it indicates at least that they're capable of things. And of course they have seen much more hours of media than I was as a kid, and probably you were as a kid. So that was an interesting experience. By the way, you could also see that he's taller than the rest, because the camera work was a little higher than most of the kids. So this was the way we broadcasted it in the television show. Then I decided, okay, let's explore this further. Let's do a project where we combine two things: building on the multicultural society and film education, media education for kids. So the idea was to find kids, to ask them to make a film, within exactly a length, let's say a few minutes, about their life and how they make friends or have friends in the multicultural society of another culture. That was the frame, nothing more. Bridging the Worlds was the project. We tried it in several countries. And the one that I'm going to show you now, I sent one of my producers to a school. She had half an hour preparation with the class. They didn't know each other before. She just said, I'm the producer from KRO and this and that. then she found two girls that were not friends in the classroom, not friends in the sense that they always hang out together, but they were school friends. And one wanted to do the camera, and the other one said, yes, I know a story, because our idea was, for this one, make a road movie. And this is what they made in an hour and a half. I'll show you.
Hallo, ik ben Shawnee. Shawnee is een cameravrouw. En ik ben Ebru. Ik ben 12 jaar oud. Ik woon in Amsterdam-Noord. Ik hou van voetbal omdat het mijn hobby is. En ja, ik hou heel veel van sport. En ja, het ziet er gewoon leuk uit, voetbal. Ik ben heel nieuwsgierig hoe de training van Ajax is. Ik wil een keertje naar een trainingsveld bij Ajax bij de toekomst. Ik wil het wel een keertje in het echt zien, want ik ben er nooit in geweest. En het is leuk als ik er nu naartoe ga. Ik zit op voetbal omdat ik dacht van het is een leuke sport, het ziet er leuk uit, het is een leuke sport. Mijn vader vond het goed dat ik op voetbal ging, maar voor één kant zei mijn moeder nee, het is een jonge sport, dus ga liever op wat anders. Toen zei ik nee, want het is mijn lievelingssport, dus ben ik erop gegaan en mijn vader vond het gelijk goed. Het is fijn dat je kan voetballen als een meisje, maar dan kan je ook met jongens voetballen en dan ben je gemixt. Ik vind dat je, als je op voetbal gaat, dan kan je meer trucjes leren. Dat je beter kan voetballen. Dan gaat niemand je kunnen plagen dat je niet kan voetballen. In de klas hoor ik erbij, want iedereen kan voetballen in de klas, bijna iedereen. Maar ik ben niet zo goed in voetbal. Als ik zelf tegen het team speel, vind ik dat ik goed ben. Maar normaal, als ik nou alleen ben, ik kan niet veel trucjes. Ik zeg de waarheid, ik kan het niet echt veel. En ja, ik zal het wel proberen. Ik wil een paar voetballers opnoemen van welke ik leuk vind om het te kijken. Cristiano Ronaldo, volgens mij. Ik weet niet hoe het uitspreekt, en Ronaldinho. Ik vind Ronaldinho leuk omdat hij veel trucjes kan, hij kan goed voetballen en ja, hij is goed. Mijn grote droom is dat ik een voetballer word. En dat ik rijk en dat ik ook ik wil gewoon later een voetballer worden. Wat ik ga doen is goed voetballen. Mijn best doen. Ik ga elke keer naar mijn training. En vaak trucjes oefenen.
Zo te zien zijn we er al daar op het veld.
Ik wil nog één ding zeggen. Ik weet niet of beroemdheid mij gaat lukken. Maar ik hoop van wel.
Kan je erin? Nee. Kan niet. Kan je er overheen? Ja, nee. Een rot ding. Dat is waar. Ik dacht dat de broederspelers waren, had ze voor één keer ontmoet. Tuurlijk. Bal ervan.
We zitten aan het einde van het filmpje.
Ja. Oh nee, wacht eens even. Dankjewel.
Alsjeblieft.
Hey!
Streets of the hood stuff. You know who I'm is. I rap big ice, you can live how I live.
I was amazed. Of course, you need to support them in the edit. You have to be very in the back when you shoot, because the producer was with them. Basically, we try only to ask questions, not to say, oh, you could consider this or that. No. They have intention. They have the intentions and the intelligence and the impulses to make all this material and to tell this story. To take a ball to go to that stadium, to take a ball in the public transport was their idea. All these things they think about. And I think also the interview, the talk, she's talking to a friend, a classmate. It's another kind of conversation than if I would sit there. That's also interesting. So somehow we can integrate it. Well, we built a big platform. Unfortunately, I cannot show it today, but a big platform online where we put this film, and we made a project that was called the something with only we made a big platform of content only made by kids, and this was one section of it, the Bridging the Worlds. So that process of working with them is also a process of interaction. So you can, especially in the editing, you can share more of your knowledge, and they can grow as makers. And yeah, this is quite conventional storytelling, different from the clips that I showed at the beginning. Well, both of them are interesting to further explore. Another thing that I would consider as film education is a platform that we built as public television in the Netherlands for all the youth documentaries that we produce in the Netherlands. It's called Zep Echt Gebeurd, and I think I can show it online. Yes, here it is. This is the website. Youth documentaries are badly scheduled by the channel manager, usually when kids are at school, because they don't rate a lot. They are very specific, so they have a new life, or let's say their best life online. So here you can find under certain themes like body, family, school, free time, sports, relationships, world, news, well, news, there's also news. One of the things they do in the website is it's not static, it's not just uploading new things. Sometimes they go to a main character of one of the documentaries after some time, could be 2 years, and ask, how is it now with Niels? Niels was in a documentary 2 or 3 years ago, how Kai became Niels, a girl who had a sex change operation. So it's important also to come back to it. Unfortunately, the channel is not airing these kind of things. So in the channel, there's not, let's say, a circular storytelling, but at least you have a platform, and the people are very committed and dedicated to keep on following the kids that trusted us as filmmakers to tell their story on screen. So you see different, there's a Facebook, there's even a Twitter feed, and there are some specials. So a very nice way of doing more than broadcasting. I have to go back to here. Okay. Then something, yesterday I showed you a piece, a scene from 6 tips on how to become the world's best football player. For those who were not there, or to catch up your memory, here's the title sequence. While producing the film, I got in touch with the educational department of the Dutch Olympic Committee. And football is a sport where there's a lot of emphasis on women participating, and it's the fastest growing sport in the Netherlands amongst girls. So I said, well, we're making a film, and I think this story is so strong. It's about a girl who wants to become a football player, has to go through resistance and obstacles, and at the end, she manages her dream. And they were very enthusiastic, so they said, well, let's use this film for our Olympic education, which is a kind of film education connected to Olympic values. And so they even produced a great, I call that, a handbook for the teacher how to use the film. They focused here on 5 to 8 years old. The film was made for 6 to 9, so that is more or less. And I can even show this paper. Here it is. So it gives the film a much wider range, and so many schools are using the film in that context of what they call Olympic education. So the film will be seen, will be discussed, and they try to discover values. How's the story made? What is the main character struggling with, and connecting it to sports and sportsmanship. Just as an example, I go through it quickly. So basically, I was very happy with this cooperation, but of course, this asked for more. So I told my plans for the near future. I said, well, I'm actually working on a movie. I did already a film some years ago about a girl running the marathon. What do you think? And they said, yeah, that would be great also. Let's show us the film. And this is it. I just show a scene. Oh, sorry, I have to tell first what it's about. The main character and her brother, they are crossing the street during the Amsterdam Marathon. And she accidentally runs over the leading runner, who loses his amulet, and she feels guilty, or she wants, what did I do? And she starts to run with the amulet to the Olympic Stadium, try to be there first at the entrance because he has to cross the city, and arrive there before him so she can give him and he can win. That's the story. With the idea of creating this culture, like I said yesterday, show cultures in deep, to show this culture of the marathon and sportsmanship and what does it do with a city when you have a marathon. And we aired this for the first time at the day of the marathon of the Beijing Olympics. So we tried to connect an independently produced movie to an event that was happening, and somehow it bridges, it works together. Here's the scene, the key scene of the film. No, first here. We are. It's not working, so I have to go back. Yeah, now it works. It's not working. Okay, let me go first, because we're losing time. And at the end, we did 3 movies. So you see the 6 tips, Marathon Girl, that I produced earlier, and we added to their website. And later, I produced a film about a boy who has his first boxing fight, which was aired at the London Olympics, first day of the boxing tournament. Also, it turned out to be a controversy subject, what I didn't realize. Because, of course, boxing has risks, but it was interesting to show, for instance, how they take care of kids that want to do boxing and kind of protect. And the film could show that. I'm trying to now again to show the Marathon Girl. No, doesn't work. Okay, continue. So, and this is the one that is connected to Joey's first fight. Everybody remembers the Rocky poster. And also interesting is that the BBC bought the film and they also put it on their website and offered it to teachers in the UK with material to discuss the film, to discuss the values of the film and the filmmaking. Then the last thing I want to share with you is about 10 years ago I started on television to have a weekly slot for short films. And I think it was said this morning, short films are incredibly important. You as teachers ask for it. I love to produce them, and it's a great way of also developing skills before you make a big movie. So I'm a big fan of making short films. I can't get enough of them. So I started a weekly slot on television, 52 weeks, short films from the Netherlands and around the world, around 15 minutes. After each film, the kids could vote online, and at the end of the year, the movie with the biggest, best number would get the KRO Children's Film Theatre Award, which was a check of 2,500 euros to be spent on developing your next short film. And it was won by Norway in the first year. Here's the opening of the weekly program. We packaged it in a kind of animation. So that was the opening. Of course, I was criticized by some parents about her skating on the electricity cables, but I said, you know, it's animation. Everything is possible. Then after this sequence, we always go inside the studio, and the presenter, who was my main face at that time from several programs, the presenter introduces the film. So it goes like this. It's in Dutch, but at least you get an impression of what we do with her and the characters that you just saw.
Eerste kind naar de maan. Julia droomt van planeten en raketten. Ze zou astronaut willen worden en als eerste kind ter wereld naar de maan gaan. Maar ja, dat is natuurlijk niet zo gemakkelijk voor elkaar te krijgen. Gelukkig weet Julia dat er in Noordwijk een ruimtevaartcentrum is en dat daar een Nederlandse astronaut werkt. Dus actie. Julia gaat op weg om een retourtje naar de maan te regelen. Zou jij dat eigenlijk durven? Even op en neer naar de maan? Wel.
And then the movie starts, and then after the movie, there's a call for voting. Now you can vote. The lines are open. It's online. It's no money involved. And then there's the end credits. Some nostalgic cinema organ. Well, that's it. That's what I wanted to share with you. Maybe we have time. Yeah.